Earth's crust can also be a reservoir. The Earth's crust. Yeah, that is why you remember we talked of two types of cycles, gaseous cycle and sedimentary cycle. Okay, so now we talk about sedimentary cycle. Sedimentary cycle, there are only two major sedimentary cycles, phosphorus cycle and sulfur cycle. So phosphorus cycle, the Earth's crust contains phosphorus in the form of phosphates. You must have studied, in India physical geography or mineral resources. You can find out where all mineral resources are there in India, and whenever it is phosphorus, it is always phosphates. But we all also know that if the rock is there because of heat, desert, or even another condition, because of continuous temperature from the sun and cool time or cool weather or weather during the night time, there is weathering. Yeah. So first is weathering. All these rocks, they will experience weathering. Now, once they are small enough, what happens? They are easily carried by the agents of erosion. So from erosion, so from their place, they are carried by agents of erosion. So from there, maybe they enter the river. From the river, they enter ocean. And from the ocean, they are generally present in the continental shelf. Yeah, simple. So you had phosphate on the earth crust. Had phosphate on the earth crust. Then there is weathering. Then erosion, river, ocean, continental shelf, and if there is a tectonic shift, what happens to the continental shelf? It rises above. Once it rises above, then it becomes a phosphate rock itself, which is again subjected to weathering, erosion. The same process continues. Okay, so this is your simple phosphorus cycle. Now, the problem with, once again, man's intervention into the phosphorus cycle is that the natural process of weathering, so earlier there was only weathering. Now, weathering, along with weathering, there is a much more impactful process called as mining. Please remember, if there is one cycle which is most impacted by mining, it is phosphorus cycle. Yeah, this is something because you can imagine, weathering would have taken tens of thousands of years to break a rock, but mining means several tons of rocks is broken just like that. And after this, everything remains the same: erosion, river, ocean, and all. Okay, so you are creating an artificial imbalance. So that's your sedimentary cycle. And phosphorus cycle, as you have seen, it starts with phosphate. So you can just write here on the Earth's crust. Phosphate where? Phosphate on the Earth's crust. So this shelf is continental shelf. Continental shelf, because of tectonics, plate tectonics, some parts may rise. The one that rise, they become the new Earth's crust. They are subject to weathering again. The last one is sulfur cycle. Nitrogen I will discuss in the next class. Sulfur cycle. Just as phosphorus exists as phosphates in rocks, sulfur exists as sulfates in rocks. Okay, it exists as sulfur in rocks. Now, sulfur cycle is a little complicated than phosphorus cycle. In fact, it is the only cycle. Yeah, I think this you should remember. It is the only cycle which is both sedimentary as well as gaseous. This is the only cycle. Sedimentary because we talked about sulfates. Gaseous because in the process, the whole sulfur cycle, gases like hydrogen sulfide and sulfur oxides are released. Gases like hydrogen sulfide and sulfur oxides are released. Now, so this sulfates, yeah, sometimes they combine with the existing decaying material and they get inside coal. When this coal is burnt, along with carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide also gets released. That is why this is one cycle where you are starting with the sedimentary rock, you're starting with the sulfates in the rock, which is a sedimentary kind of cycle, but you also have gaseous. So this is the only cycle which has the distinction of having both gaseous as well as sedimentary aspect. So there are natural ways also through which sulfur dioxide is released, as I have mentioned earlier in the class. volcanic eruptions are another examples where sulfur dioxide can be